Welcome to the Indie Podcast. Today's conversation is a lovely reminder about curiosity, creativity, and the fact that relevance does not come with an expiry date. My guest is Tom Ware, joining us from Australia. Tom is 90 years old and is a really prolific YouTuber later in life, something many people half his age still tell themselves they're too frightened to try. We talk about aging, staying engaged with the world, learning new things, and why slowing down does not have to mean disappearing. What I really enjoyed about this conversation is that Tom represents something I think many people quietly need to see right now. Proof that there's still space to grow, contribute, and surprise yourself, whatever your age might be. So here's my conversation with Tom. For
Brilliant.
me, 90 seems, I'm sorry if I'm being rude here, but 90 seems
No,
a
no, no,
long,
you're not.
long
No,
way.
I'm very proud of getting to 90.
And
Um,
and I feel quite worried about being 67. I'm seeing ageism. I'm finding that I sit in meetings now and people don't listen to me. And there you are. You've got a YouTube channel and you're the prince of storytelling and you you know and I'm thinking, should I be worried at being 67? Is there another sort of 20, 30 years there for me?
well, there could be. I think it really depends a lot on what you want to do with your life.
Yeah.
Um, my hobby, my not my hobby, my motto for many years has been I teach, I learn and I teach.
Mhm.
And this is the way it is. It's you bring stuff in and you get stuff out and it flows through. I can remember reading an article. I might have told you this before. Way back in the 1970s or 80s, there was an article in the Reader's Digest by an old American school mom. And the article was called To Teach is to Love. And it
Mhm.
made a big impression on me. And I thought, well, and she was retired, a retired old school mom. And I thought, that's true. That's so true. The more you learn, you don't learn it for yourself, you
Mhm.
learn it to share it with others. And you see this in nature. I mean, you see the mother kitten, the mother cat teaching the young kitten what to do, and you see that right throughout. And it's inherent, I think, in most of us to teach what we learn. And as we grow older, we feel we learn more, and we can help people overcome their troubles and worries. Um, how to stay in reasonable health, how to have hobbies, and how to socialize, how to make friends, all that sort of thing comes into it. And as you probably know, at the moment, there's a loneliness epidemic going on in the world. And yet we've never had so much communication.
Absolutely. I mean, here we are this morning, this evening, Sydney to the
Yeah,
UK,
halfway
having this
around the world, and we're
conversation.
talking live.
We're
And
talking
can you
live.
imagine this even 100 years ago? You
No.
couldn't do it. Um, I can remember reading something about some Antarctic explorers, and that one group was looking for the other group. One of the groups perished, and they were only something like 20 miles away. This was about 1905 or something. They were only about 20 miles away from being rescued. But of course, in those days, they didn't have mobile phones, they didn't even have portable radios. So look at us now. It's incredible.
I suppose we have both lived through immense amounts of change. I mean,
Absolutely.
I grew up with steam trains going past my window.
Yeah.
I didn't, the only phone we had a long cord. And
Yeah.
I remember us getting our first color television and paying
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
television.
First television. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would tell you what I was 20 before I saw my first television. And I think, no, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I saw a very grainy looking one when I was in the UK before I left. Would have
Yeah.
been 1951.
Hmm.
And it was really bad, and you had to be very wealthy to have one of those. But TV didn't arrive in Australia until 1956.
Wow.
And I was already 20 years old, you know. And then again, most houses didn't have them. You could see them if you went along to a pub, stand at the bar and watch the TV across the
Yeah.
bar.
But it
Mm.
makes me think there's been a lot of transition of change, and I think there's a lot of change coming as well with things like AI
Oh,
and things like that. What's your view on that?
I think that the changes are so quickly that there's no way you can really keep up. You can't keep up. I mean, people ferret around on the internet going from one thing to, and I do it. I look on YouTube and find out, oh, there's a new discovery on steam engine, on the way to make electricity cheaper and all
Yeah.
sorts of things. You try to keep up, but you can't. But the main thing I think you need to focus on is your own development as a human being.
Mhm.
Um, I've just bought a book by the famous John C. Maxwell, all
Mhm.
about public speaking and so forth.
Yeah.
And I'm learning from it, despite the fact that I have another dozen books on public speaking on
Hmm.
my bookshelves and have been into it for over 50 years. There's always something to learn. There's always something to get better at, I think. And that's the main thing. And the way I see communication skills, whether it be writing or whether it be speaking to audiences or whatever, that is not an objective in itself. You learn these things so that you can pass on whatever you think is worth passing on, what wisdom or lessons you can teach other people.
Staying on this sort of wisdom and lessons, and sort of going
Mm,
back to where we started this really,
yeah.
um, you know, what would you tell the 50, the 60, and the 70 year olds today that you kind of learned from your journey and you think
Well, I
it's
think
probably
I
worthwhile
think
to look at?
you're coming up for retirement. You really should start looking after your physical and mental health
Yeah.
right from early age. And I put my reasonable fitness of 90 down to the fact that I've been a gym, not a gym junkie, but I've been
Hmm.
going to the gym and pumping iron and riding the bike to nowhere since I was 20 years of age.
Hmm.
And it really starts to pay off once you get into your 60s. You see people hobbling around on walking sticks and on walkers because they've lost all the strength of their legs and things like that. So you need physical fitness and you need mental fitness. Now, people sit around and do jigsaw puzzles and crosswords with the objective of keeping their mind sharp, but you need something more than that. You need motivation. You need to keep your mind sharp so that you can accomplish things which you think are worthwhile. And that's very important. Um, so that's what I do. And I think I've still got a lot to give. Let's put it that way. Now, obviously, at some stage or other, I will either go out very quickly or I'll have some sort of demise. But your body will tell you when that's you're ready for that.
But it sounds like you're not ready for it now. You're not done.
Oh no, I'm I'm ready to step up for a few more years yet.
Yeah, I
But
love.
yeah, so as I said, I'm going to do this 3-day boot camp, which
Yeah.
has costed me a bit of money, I might
Yeah.
add.
Yeah.
And if I like what I'm doing, I'll go along and do the 4-day one, which could bring me into actually using the techniques to help other people.
Wow.
So this is the thing.
Now, there's something specifically I want to have a discussion about here.
Yep.
See, retirement or not. Now, I think you're very much on the camp of yes, you can retire, whereas I'm clinging on to working. I'm 67, and I'll probably be working when I'm 75 or 80. Um, I just wondered what you thought. Should I
I think it
retire?
depends. Well, it depends. It depends, Andrew, on how much you like the work you do.
Yeah.
Uh, I absolutely despise the work I was doing, and
Yeah.
I was got to the stage where I was getting the early shingles, which is as you know, it's
Mm.
caused by tension and so forth like that. And when the opportunity came to take voluntary redundancy at 59, I jumped at the chance and kept my fingers crossed because I thought, gee, that maybe they won't take me, maybe they won't let me go. When they let me go, I got a sigh of relief. And of course, my wife said, "Oh, Tom, we'll never manage," the usual thing. And I said, "Oh, look, trust, we'll manage it all right." And so we have. So we have.
And how many
Yeah,
years of retirement have you had?
31 years now.
31. And enjoyed them. And
Oh, yes, yes, yeah, yeah. And when I first retired, I thought, well, what am I going to do?
mm,
I knew that I was very much into public speaking and storytelling to
yeah.
audiences. That was so I just increased that, started going out and doing lots of talks to different organisations, all types of organisations, ex-military battalions and
Mhm.
and Navigators Association and of course the Probus Clubs, Rotary Lions, all that sort of stuff. And at one stage, I was doing 60 of these a year, guest speaker appearances a year. Um, I joined an organisation known as U3A. Have you heard of them?
Yeah. We've got them over
I
here.
was
Yeah.
in them from 1998. So I'd been retired about 3 years when I joined them. I stayed with them for 10 years
Hmm.
and I ran a class for them for 8 years
Hmm.
on a very obtuse subject called Inner Quest, Our Search for Happiness, Body, Mind and Spirit. And did I tell you about this before
No,
in
you
an
haven't. No.
earlier talk? Well, Body, Mind and Spirit, I ran that at a class fairly close to where I live, and then it expanded to various suburbs around, and I was doing it about three different locations, once a fortnight at each place.
Mhm.
And when I took it up, I was told by the hierarchy of the establishment in U3A in Sydney, "Oh, they won't like that, Tom. It's too woo woo and all that. Nobody will come along to that." Turned out to be the second most popular class in the whole of in the whole of the area, and I had people come along to the class. Some of them came for the whole 8 years. Would you believe it? And one lady only missed one lesson in 8 years, and that was because she was sick. So they were riveted. They loved the content. And the content was, of course, um, what you might say, spirituality without
Yeah.
religion, self-knowledge, that type of thing. People are really interested in that sort of stuff. And that's the sort of thing that I'm interested in too.
It's interesting for me because I don't think you retired. I think you just stopped working.
Stop working for a pay. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was it. That was it.
It,
Yeah.
sa- it sounds to me that you've really found with the speaking and the teaching, you've really found something that sort of lights the light bulb for you. And
Yeah, yeah. In fact, when I was at work, I was trying to get into that sort of work all the time,
yeah.
and it was thwarted every step of the way. I'd get into a training job as an acting trainer, and then someone had come back from long service leave and I'd be ousted. But I had the ability to be able to learn something and then stand in front of a class and make it interesting for them. And that was my gift, and it still is, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got to talk about YouTube because
Oh,
talk about
yes.
learning something complete. Tell me the YouTube story. How did you get involved? And you've got a lot, you've had a lot of views, you've got people tuning into your videos. I'm just really eager to know how it all started and developed.
Right. Well, when I first got into YouTube, um, would have been two, sorry, about 2017. I just used to put one or two on any subject I could think of, usually a philosophical type of subject. And then one day I put one on just off the top of my head and I called it Why It's Best to Retire Early.
Hmm.
And when I looked at it again, instead of getting the usual couple of dozen hits, it had something like about 5,000 hits or something. And I was amazed. So then I spoke to my younger son who's into SEO and knows all about, how to get markets and so forth. He said, Dan, stick to the same subject, don't change it because people will start to watch it. So that's what I did. And I started putting them on. They became very popular. And I put another one on. I think I can't remember the title, but it got something like about 35,000 views or something, just the one hit. So I kept it up. Now I still put them on, and sometimes they do very well. Sometimes I only get a few hundred hits, but you tend to get a following of people. The same names come up and they comment. And then very recently, I started another second YouTube, which I call Written from Silence. And now where I got the name Written from Silence from was by using Chat GTP.
Nice.
Because
So are you into your AI and your Chat GPT?
oh, not really. I just use Chat GTP sometimes to ask a question, to clarify really what the world thinks about a certain thing. I don't subscribe to it. I just use the free version.
Yeah.
And anyway, I started this new one, and it's about automatic writing. I don't know whether you know anything about automatic writing. Do you do?
No, tell me.
Well, automatic writing has been around for many years, and you tap into your own subconscious. Now, the theory is, and this is what I believe, is that we're all connected at a deep subconscious level. And not only are we all connected, we're all connected to our own highest self. And our own highest self is connected to all. And in fact, our own highest self is, you might say, the God part, the Christ consciousness or the Buddha mind that we all have. So I started asking a question of what I call my spiritual guide, which is really my higher self, called Hector. So I'd ask Hector a question. Hector would then dictate his answer, which I would copy down, and then I would read it out on my new channel. And I thought, nobody's going to like this much. Well, it's kicking off. It's got quite a few hundred viewers, and people like that sort of stuff too. So that's the other aspect. I'm very much into spirituality without religion, if you might put it that way. One of the things I've been doing now for 40 years is a thing called Vipassana meditation. You ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Well, I started off in 1986 at the age of 50, going up to a retreat, and very tough. You do 10 days of total silence. You're up at 4 o'clock in the morning. You do 11 hours meditation. You only have 2 meals a day, breakfast and lunch. That's vegetarian meals. You're not allowed to talk to anyone or even make eye contact. So it's very, very savage. But by gee, doesn't it give you insights into yourself? And so I took to that, and I ended up doing 14 of those 10-day courses between 1986 and about 2002. And of course, I still do it twice daily. I did a little bit before this session. It gives you insights into it gives you the feelings that you need to get out of your system. Because if I might put it this way, every single thought we have, whatever thought it is, has an emotional component too. Now, some of those thoughts are, as it was put by the teacher, they're like words written on water. So somebody says to you, call that telephone number, John, and they give you the telephone number, you call it, and then it's forgotten. There's virtually no emotional content left with you with that. On the other hand, there can be things which, like an argument, you have an argument with someone and it stays with you, and that's like, as he put it, that's like words written on sand before an incoming tide, washed away quickly. But then there are other aspects where it's like the emotions are chiseled into granite. They stay with you. They eat you up inside. And these are the things which cause You know, if you hate someone long enough, you'll be the one who gets cancer, not them.
Yeah, yeah.
So the the idea is all of these things are stored in our bodies, whether we realize it or not. Not just our bodies, our surrounding aura, auric field. And unless we deal with them, they will slowly get worse over as time goes. Um, for example, I'll give you a good example. A young soldier goes off to war and he's told to do something dreadful like sneak up behind someone and cut their throat. He
Mhm.
comes home from the war. He seems all right, drinks a bit, tries to forget about what happens, slowly deteriorates and gets even worse. So what's actually happening there is the subconscious trauma, which the Buddhists call a samkara, continues to grow below the surface. Starts off as unease, gives him headaches and so forth, eventually brings him down maybe with a psychological illness or something like that, because he's been pushing down and suppressing this dreadful thing he's done all of his life. And the body just gives up. It just and the how could I put it, the emotion precipitates down out of the mind into the physicality and manifests as an illness. So sounds like a doctor or not.
No, no, but I find this really, really interesting because, again, do you feel that this is part of your, your health and your longevity is because you've removed this stuff where,
It
you know, I,
could be. I'm still removing, but
yeah,
what I've noticed, because I've done this for so long now, my default, that's the word, isn't it? If I close my eyes and just sit there, I can feel my aura. You've probably heard of the auric field, and I can feel it vibrating through my body and around my body, and I can feel the pressures and so forth. And they're not pleasant, but they are obviously being held in. And everybody would have that, but most people aren't aware of it.
yeah.
Uh, you do get psychics who can actually see the auric field around people, and they can actually tell what parts of the body are giving them trouble. Some of them very gifted, in fact. I remember reading a book way back in the 60s by a woman called Dr. Shafika or something. She was an American psychiatrist, very, very conservative, very narrow-minded.
Mhm.
And she was challenged. They said to her, Dr. Shafika, I want you to meet some people and do some experiments, which she did. And some of the experiments were like, for example, they would have a shelf which was high up, and they would put some various jewelry along the top of the shelf. And then they would ask the psychic to say what was on the shelf.
Mhm.
And the psychic could look up, and although they couldn't see the object, they could see the radiation coming off the object. And they would say, well, that's a diamond, and that's a pearl, and so forth. And they always got it right. And they did all the psychic tests, and they realized that these people weren't just bullshitting. They were actually had these gifts of being able to diagnose illnesses around people and that sort of thing.
Would you say that actually for a lot of us, we're on this journey. There's probably there's always something to learn for us, doesn't matter what age you are. And
Absolutely.
and here I'm learning this evening. I'm finding out new things, which I'll go away and check. If you could distill your 90 years of life experience into one single core piece of advice for people listening to this replay, what would it be?
I would say find out, work on finding out what you truly are.
It's quite. And my last question, and I was thinking about questions to ask this evening, and you are a storyteller,
Yes.
And I wonder, is there one story that you've not told yet that you're hoping to share?
I don't have one story I haven't told yet, but I do have a story which took me 20 years to get the courage to pluck up to tell.
Mm,
It was a life-changing story, and I have told that story a few times now. The last time I did it was for the Parapsychological Institute, one of the annual conferences. It did take me a long while, and that was to do with, without going into the story,
mm,
about how I had a niece who was killed in a dreadful train accident,
mhm,
and how she contacted me because I've got psychic abilities when I was in the Antarctic, and I'd never heard anything about. I'd never didn't know she'd been even killed immediately, and then she asked me if I would tell her mother that she was okay.
mm,
Of course, she was in heaven. She was
mm.
trying to get me to, and I thought, well, how could I do this? And this was back in 1977. It took me until 1997 to pluck the courage up to tell her mother that story. 20 years I put it off.
Wow. Thank you very much for your time and your wisdom. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm sure there is so much that we've spoken about here that is going to be of interest and thought provoking for our indie audience. So thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Indie Podcast with Tom Ware. If you've enjoyed this conversation and you're interested in ideas around later life, soft retirement, purpose, work, creativity, and staying relevant in a changing world, come and join us at the Indie community. You can find us at imnotdoneyet.org or learn more about what we do at imnotdoneyet.com. And if today's episode resonated with you, please do follow, subscribe, and share the podcast. It really helps us reach more people who may need these conversations right now. So until next time, remember this: you're not done yet, you're just doing life differently.